The Alpha King's Forbidden Mate, a dark werewolf fantasy romance audiobook that will keep you hooked from the very first word. Elara never asked to be chosen by the Alpha King, but the blood moon bound her fate to power, passion, and deadly secrets she could not escape. Torn between Kaelen's fierce love and Lucian's shadowed claim, her journey becomes a battle of destiny, loyalty, and the mark that could crown her or destroy her. In a world where love is forbidden and betrayal runs deep, only one truth remains. Elara must claim her own power before the darkness claims her. The villagers said the blood moon was a night of blessings, but Elara had never felt blessed. She stood at the edge of the square, clutching her basket, pretending to admire the dancers while her heart hammered with unease. The music of drums and pipes filled the night, wild and untamed, echoing against the forest that surrounded their small village. Children laughed and spun in circles, elders drank spiced wine, and the moon, enormous and blood-red, hung like an omen above them all. Elara's silver-flecked eyes caught the glow of the moonlight, and once again she felt the stares. The whispers never stopped. Strange girl. Cursed eyes. Not one of us. She dropped her gaze, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear, wishing she could disappear. That was when the ground trembled. At first she thought it was part of the drums, but the rhythm was wrong. Too heavy. Too alive. The laughter faltered, the pipes squealed to a halt, and silence fell across the square. From the shadows of the trees came a sound that froze Elara's blood, a howl, deep and resonant, rolling over the village like thunder. Shapes emerged. Wolves, enormous, powerful, their coats glistening under the red moon. Not ordinary beasts, but creatures of legend. Their paws crushed the earth, their eyes glowed with intelligence, and the villagers scattered in panic, shrieking. Elara couldn't move. She stood rooted as one figure stepped through the wall of fur and teeth, a man, tall and broad-shouldered, his dark cloak flowing behind him like wings. Power radiated from him in waves that made the air itself feel heavy. His golden eyes scanned the crowd, and when they landed on Elara, her breath caught. It felt as though he saw through her skin, down into her very soul. The villagers dropped to their knees, trembling. "The Alpha King," someone whispered, voice breaking. Elara's chest tightened. She had heard the stories everyone had. He was more myth than man, a ruler who commanded not just a pack, but all packs, bound by no laws but his own. Ruthless, untouchable, a king of shadows and fangs. And now he was walking toward her. Each step was measured, predatory, his gaze never leaving hers. Elara's legs screamed to run, but her body betrayed her, trembling but rooted to the spot. When he stopped before her, the world fell away. The crowd, the torches, the music all gone. There was only him, and the pounding of her heart. Without a word, he reached for her hand. The moment his skin brushed hers, fire ignited beneath her palm. She gasped, staring as a glowing mark seared itself into her flesh, a crescent entwined with flame, pulsing with power. Pain lanced through her. Yet it was not pain alone. It was recognition, connection, as though something ancient had been waiting for this moment. The Alpha King's lips curved, not in a smile but in something darker, possessive, certain. He leaned close, his breath warm against her ear, and spoke one word that shattered her world. "Mine." Gasps rippled through the villagers. Mothers shielded their children, elders murmured prayers. The Alpha King straightened, his hand still holding hers, the mark burning like a brand. Elara's voice broke in panic. "No, you're mistaken, I'm no one." But he silenced her with a look that promised there would be no escape, no denial, no choice. The wolves howled as if in agreement, the sound filling the night sky. And in that terrible, fated moment, Elara understood. Her life was no longer her own. The Alpha King had claimed her. Don't stop here. The mark's power is only beginning to awaken. Continue now with Episode 2. Marked by the Alpha King. Elara woke to the scent of cedarwood and smoke. Her eyes fluttered open, and she realized she was lying on a massive bed draped in velvet, the ceiling high and carved with runes that shimmered faintly in the torchlight. For a dizzying second, she thought she was still dreaming. Then she looked at her wrist. The mark burned there, faintly glowing, a crescent entwined with flame, etched into her skin as if it had always belonged. "No," she whispered, clutching her arm as dread coiled in her stomach. The chamber door creaked open. He entered like a storm contained in human form, King Kaelen. His golden eyes locked on her with the same unrelenting force as the night before. He filled the room without effort, his very presence commanding her lungs to forget how to breathe. "You are awake." His voice was deep, velvet over steel. Elara scrambled back against the headboard. What have you done to me?" Kaelen's gaze lowered to the mark. "I did not choose this, girl. The moon did. The bond is sealed. You are mine." Her throat tightened. "No. I'm not your mate, I can't be. I'm just—" Her voice faltered. "Just a seamstress's daughter. Just a nobody with strange eyes and lonelier nights." But he stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "Do you feel it?" His hand reached, almost tender, and brushed her mark with a single finger. Pain shot through her, but entwined with it came something worse visions. Wolves bowing before her, thrones burning, her own voice commanding legions in a tongue she did not know. Her knees weakened, and she would have fallen if Kaelen had not caught her, his hand firm on her waist. Elara gasped, pushing him away. "What was that?" "The prophecy." His jaw tightened, as if speaking the words cost him. "The Luna Queen of Silver Eyes, the one who will rise beside the Alpha of Alphas. My court will see it as an omen, but to me—" He trailed off, looking at her not with triumph, but with something far more dangerous fear. Elara shook her head violently. "You're wrong. I don't want this. I don't want you." His eyes darkened. For a heartbeat she thought he would strike her down. Instead he turned away, fists clenched at his sides. "Want has nothing to do with it. You were never meant to be free." The words landed like chains around her heart. Before she could speak, a sharp knock rattled the chamber door. A guard entered, bowing deeply. "My king, the council gathers. They demand answers about the girl." Elara's pulse spiked. The council? Already? Kaelen's golden gaze slid back to her, sharp as a blade. "Then let them see." He extended his hand, waiting, not as an offer, but a command. And though every part of her screamed to resist, her body betrayed her again. Her palm slid into his, and the mark burned brighter. The Alpha King would parade her before his court, and Elara knew, with a sinking certainty, that the true danger of the mark was not the bond itself, but what others would do to break it. The council will not welcome the Alpha King's mate. Continue the journey in Episode 3. Whispers of Rebellion. The throne hall of the Alpha King's fortress was unlike anything Elara had ever seen. The walls soared high into shadows, lit by torches that burned with bluish flame. Wolves carved from stone lined the chamber, their eyes inlaid with silver so lifelike she almost expected them to leap from their pedestals. Elara's steps echoed as Kaelen led her in, his grip unyielding around her wrist. The mark glowed faintly beneath his hand, a reminder of her captivity. She felt hundreds of eyes upon her, the council, warriors, advisors, even servants gathered at the edges of the chamber. Some looked at her with awe, others with suspicion, but most with thinly veiled hostility. Kaelen stopped before the council dais, where 6 elders in dark robes sat with their hands folded. Their leader, a gaunt woman with eyes as cold as winter, rose to her feet. "So it is true," she said, her voice carrying. "The Alpha King has marked a mate." Murmurs rippled like a storm. Kaelen's jaw tightened. "The moon has chosen. She bears the mark. None here may deny it." Elara tried to shrink beneath their stares, but the elder's gaze pierced her. "Silver eyes," she hissed. "The cursed prophecy. Have you lost your senses, Kaelen?" To bind yourself to her is to bring ruin upon us all." The crowd erupted. Voices shouted, overlapping, some demanding her rejection, others whispering about the Luna Queen foretold in legends. Elara's breath quickened. She didn't belong here. She had never belonged anywhere. But this was worse than exile. A scarred warrior stepped forward from the shadows, eyes fixed on her. Recognition jolted through her. Darius. He had once delivered cloth to her mother's shop years ago, always kind, always watchful. Now his expression was grave. "Elara," he whispered urgently as he passed close. "They will not accept you. You must be careful. There are those here who would kill to keep you from the throne." Her blood ran cold. Kaelen silenced the hall with a single growl that reverberated through the stone. "No one touches what is mine." His gaze swept the crowd, daring anyone to challenge him. But even as the chamber fell quiet, Elara noticed the shifting eyes, the clenched jaws. Loyalty was a fragile thing. That night, in the garden of moonlit roses, she found the warning carved into her chamber door, letters etched in blood, fresh and dripping. "The Luna must die. Danger lurks within the fortress itself." Continue in episode 4. The Oath of Blood. Sleep was impossible. Elara sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the words that had been scrawled across her door. The guard claimed no one had seen who did it, but the message was clear. She was not welcome here. When Kaelen entered her chamber at dawn, his presence heavy as ever, she confronted him. "Your council wants me dead. How am I supposed to live like this?" His golden eyes flickered with something unreadable. He closed the door behind him, stepping into the shadows. "You think I do not know? Every night I hear their whispers. Every day I see their doubt. Then why keep me here?" Her voice cracked. "Why not reject me if it means keeping your kingdom safe?" For a moment silence hung between them. Then Kaelen's expression hardened. "Because I cannot. The bond will not allow it. And because..." He turned away, fists clenching at his sides. "Because I once swore never to love again." The words hung heavy. Elara blinked. "What do you mean?" He faced her then, eyes like molten fire. "My first mate was murdered before my eyes, slain by betrayal within my own court. That night I swore an oath of blood. Never again would I allow myself to be weakened by love." The pain in his voice was raw, jagged, and for the first time Elara glimpsed the man beneath the king. Before she could speak, a strange pulse shivered through her veins. Her mark burned, and silver light crackled faintly from her hands. She gasped, staring at the sparks dancing on her skin. Kaelen caught her wrists, his grip firm. "Your power awakens." But their moment shattered as the alarm bells rang. Shouts echoed from the fortress walls. Kaelen drew his blade, his eyes blazing with fury. "Stay here," he ordered, shifting as his body rippled with transformation. Elara rushed to the window in time to see shadows swarming the gate's figures clad in dark armor, their banner marked with a sigil she did not recognize. Wolves howled in the night, battle cries tearing through the air. One assassin broke free of the chaos, scaling the outer wall. His mask gleamed in the torchlight as he raised a dagger etched with runes. He landed silently on her balcony, stepping out of the smoke. "You belong to us," the masked figure whispered. "The Shadow Pack has come for her." Continue the fight in episode 5. Shadows at the Gate. The assassin's dagger gleamed under the torchlight, its runes pulsing with a faint crimson glow. Elara stumbled back, her heart hammering. She could hear the clash of steel and the snarls of wolves outside, but here on the balcony it was deathly silent. The masked figure stepped closer, each movement deliberate, predatory. "The Alpha King thinks you are his," he murmured, voice low and chilling. "But your blood does not belong to him. It belongs to us." The dagger slashed toward her. Elara raised her hands instinctively, and the mark on her wrist seared like fire. Shadows writhed from the corners of the balcony, twisting and surging to form a barrier. The blade struck the darkness and rebounded with a hiss. The assassin staggered back, shock flickering across his hidden face. Elara stared at her hands in horror. She hadn't willed the shadows, yet they obeyed her. The chamber door burst open. Kaelen charged in, already half-shifted, his golden eyes glowing like molten suns. With a roar, he slammed into the assassin, claws tearing through armor. The fight was brutal, fast, but the assassin slipped from his grasp, vaulting over the balcony rail into the chaos below. Kaelen cursed, chest heaving, blood streaking his jaw. He turned to Elara, his fury barely leashed. What happened? Elara held up her trembling hands, silver sparks still dancing across her skin. I don't know. The shadows, they answered me. His gaze darkened with recognition. The prophecy awakens. Before she could ask, a horn blared from the outer walls. The shadow pack had breached the gate. The fortress shook with the force of their assault. Kaelen's soldiers shifted into wolves, launching themselves into the fray. Kaelen seized her arm, his grip scorching. Stay by me. Do not leave my side. They stormed into the night together. Fire lit the skies, arrows rained down, and the courtyard erupted with snarls and screams. Kaelen shifted fully, his wolf form massive and terrible, black fur rippling as he tore through enemies like shadow incarnate. Elara stood frozen until a soldier lunged at Kaelen's exposed flank. Without thinking, she raised her hand and a wall of darkness surged between them, deflecting the killing blow. Kaelen turned, golden eyes locking on her with something fierce and unspoken. Not possession this time. Awe. When the last horn sounded, signaling retreat, the shadow pack melted into the night, leaving the fortress bloodied but standing. Among the corpses, Kaelen picked up the assassin's dagger. Its blade hummed with unnatural power. Darius appeared breathless, his gaze sharp. That weapon, it comes from the Lost Kingdom, a relic only the true Luna Queen could command. Elara's stomach dropped. She had wanted to believe she was just a seamstress's daughter. But fate was writing her into something else, something far more dangerous. The battle is won, but the true war has only begun. Continue in Episode 6. Chains of the Court. The council chamber reeked of smoke and iron. The elders sat like vultures in their carved chairs, eyes gleaming with thinly veiled hatred. Elara stood at the center, her wrists still trembling from the shadows that had poured from her hours before. Kaelen loomed beside her, radiating lethal authority, but even his presence could not silence the whispers. The prophecy unfolds, Elder Myra hissed. First the mark, now her magic. She will destroy us all. She saved your fortress, Darius countered from the shadows, his voice clipped. Without her, Kaelen would be dead. Murmurs rose. Some elders shifted uncomfortably, but most glares stayed fixed on Elara. She wanted to disappear, to slip into silence and never return. But the mark throbbed against her skin, a reminder that hiding was no longer possible. Kaelen's voice cut through the noise. She is mine. The bond is sealed. Any who challenge her, challenge me. The chamber trembled with the power in his words, but the defiance in the elder's eyes did not fade. When the meeting ended, Kaelen dragged Elara into a private corridor. His hands gripped her shoulders, his face close enough for her to see the shadows etched into his golden eyes. Do not falter, he warned. They want you broken. They will test you. Elara swallowed. And if I fail? Then you die. And so do I. The weight of his words sank deep. The bond tied their fates together. Her weakness would be his undoing. That night, Elara wandered the fortress alone, needing air, needing distance from Kaelen's suffocating intensity. In the gardens, she found Darius waiting. His scarred face softened at her approach. You can't trust them, he said quietly. Not the council, not even Kaelen. You are the key, Elara, not him. The shadow pack will come again, And when they do, you'll have to choose where your loyalty lies. Her chest tightened. I don't even know who I am. Darius's hand brushed hers, warm, steady. Then let me help you find out. For a dangerous heartbeat, the world narrowed to that touch, but then a growl cut through the air, low and primal. Kaelen emerged from the shadows, his wolf half-risen, eyes burning with possessive fury. Elara, he said, voice trembling with restraint, step away from him. Two men, two destinies, both bound to her fate. Continue in episode 7. The wolf's jealousy. Kaelen's growl rumbled through the garden like thunder. His golden eyes gleamed with a feral light, his wolf close to the surface. Darius stiffened but did not step back, his hand still dangerously near Elara's. Elara's breath caught. Stop, both of you. Kaelen's gaze snapped to her, burning with fury. He touches what is mine. Darius's lips curled in a humorless smile. Yours, or the moon's. You think fate makes her your possession? The air crackled with violence. Elara shoved herself between them, her palms pressed to Kaelen's chest. His body was taut with rage, heat radiating through his tunic, but beneath her touch, his trembling betrayed the war inside him. Kaelen, please, she whispered. This isn't the way. For a moment, something softened in his eyes, but then the wolf surged again. His claws grazed her arm, not to harm, but as though he couldn't stop the shift from claiming him. Elara's mark flared, silver light spilling over her skin. Kaelen staggered back, snarling. His wolf reined in by her power. The council guards appeared at the edges of the garden, drawn by the commotion. They froze at the sight. The Alpha King himself held at bay by a girl's touch. Whispers spread like wildfire. Kaelen turned on them, his voice a whip. Leave us. The guards scattered, but the damage was done. The rumors would spread through the fortress before dawn. Darius caught Elara's hand as she trembled. Do you see now? Even the Alpha King cannot control himself. You must be careful, Elara. His bond to you may be as much curse as blessing. But Kaelen heard, his fury breaking into something rawer, more dangerous. Careful, Darius, he snarled. You walk a line even I may not forgive. That night, Elara lay awake, the weight of their stares heavy in her mind. Two men bound to her in different ways, one by fate, the other by choice. And somewhere in between, her heart threatened to fracture. At dawn, a summons came. The council demanded her presence not for judgment this time, but for trial. The council prepares a test of blood. Continue in episode 8, Trial of the Luna. Trial of the council chamber had been transformed. Candles burned in a circle, their flames eerily still. At the center, a bowl of black water shimmered like liquid night. Elara stood before it, her wrists bound in silver chains that bit into her skin. This is madness, Kaelen growled, pacing like a caged beast. She owes you nothing. Elder Myra's voice cut through the air. She claims the mark. She wields forbidden power. If she is truly the Luna Queen, let her prove it. If not, the bond must be broken by death if necessary. Elara's heart slammed against her ribs. I never asked for this, she whispered, but no one listened. The guards forced her to kneel. Darius lingered at the edge of the chamber, his eyes locked on hers with a silent promise, I'll protect you. Place her hands in the water, Myra commanded. The liquid was ice against her skin. Instantly, the mark on her wrist blazed, silver tendrils unfurling through the black water like lightning. Gasps rippled across the chamber as visions exploded behind her eyes. Wolves bowing, thrones rising, flames devouring kingdoms. She cried out, but the council only leaned closer, greedy for proof. Kaelen roared, lunging forward, but 4 guards restrained him. His wolf strained against their grip, his golden eyes burning with panic. Elara. The water darkened, swirling violently, then stilled. When Elara lifted her hands, the silver chains had melted away, leaving only the glowing mark. Silence fell. Elder Myra's face twisted with fury. The prophecy is real. The chamber erupted into chaos. Some fell to their knees in reverence, others shouted curses. Kaelen tore free of his restraints and swept Elara into his arms, holding her as though she were both salvation and doom. But above the noise, a horn sounded deep, resonant, foreign. Darius's face paled. "The Shadow Pack," he breathed. "They breach the outer border." Elara clutched Kaelen's arm, her heart racing. The council's judgment no longer mattered. War had come to their gates. Prophecy and war collide. Continue in Episode 9, Siege of Shadows. The fortress wall shook beneath the thunder of war drums. From the highest balcony, Elara saw them coming, an army of wolves and warriors cloaked in black, their eyes glowing crimson in the night. The Shadow Pack. The torches along the ramparts flared as Kaelen shifted into command. His voice rolled like thunder over the battlements. "Archers, loose!" A storm of arrows streaked the sky, raining down upon the attackers. Wolves howled, men screamed, but still they advanced, their shadows twisting unnaturally as if darkness itself obeyed them. Elara's hands trembled at the railing. The mark burned fiercely, whispering in her veins. She remembered the vision from the black water, flames, thrones, wolves kneeling. Was this the beginning of it? "Stay behind me," Kaelen ordered, appearing at her side in full armor, his blade gleaming. But she shook her head. "If they want me, I won't hide." Before he could argue, the gate splintered. The enemy poured through, steel clashing with steel, wolves tearing into wolves. Kaelen leapt into the fray, shifting mid-stride into his monstrous black wolf form, his roar shaking the ground. Elara's breath hitched. His power was terrifying. Each swipe of his claws tore through warriors, each snap of his jaws ended lives. Yet even he was only one against many. Then the shadows surged toward him. They rose like spears, aiming for his chest. Without thinking, Elara cried out, and silver fire erupted from her hands. The shadows recoiled, dissolving into mist. Warriors froze, staring at her in horror and awe. She staggered, dizzy, but the mark blazed brighter, guiding her. Where Kaelen fought with fury, she fought with light and darkness entwined, shielding his flank, striking from afar. The tide began to turn. But as the last enemy fell back, retreating into the forest, a lone figure remained. The same assassin from before, mask gleaming. He held aloft a banner torn and blackened, its sigil twisting like smoke. His voice carried across the battlefield. "The Luna Queen cannot be caged. She belongs to the shadows. And when the blood moon rises again, she will stand with us." Then he vanished into mist, leaving only silence and the stench of blood. Kaelen shifted back, chest heaving, eyes blazing as he turned to Elara. "You fight beside me like a queen." His hand cupped her jaw, his touch both fierce and trembling. "And it terrifies me. Victory comes at a cost, and the bond deepens in dangerous ways." Continue in Episode 10, The Alpha's Confession. The fortress lay in ruins. Fires smoldered, soldiers tended to their wounded, and the cries of the dying haunted the halls. Elara moved among them, binding wounds with trembling hands, her heart heavy with guilt. Every whisper she overheard spoke of her savior, Curse, Luna. When night fell, Kaelen found her in the war room. Maps lay scattered across the table, ink smeared with blood. His shoulders sagged under the weight of a crown no one else could bear. "You should rest," he said gruffly. Elara met his gaze, exhaustion in her bones. "So should you." For once, he didn't argue. He sank into a chair, rubbing his temples. The golden fire in his eyes dimmed, leaving a man beneath the king, a man who looked tired, broken. "You saved me," he murmured. "More than once. I should hate you for it." Her chest tightened. "Why?" "Because the bond is a chain I swore I would never wear again." His voice cracked, raw with memory. "When my first mate was murdered, I swore an oath of blood. Love makes us weak. And yet—" He stopped, struggling for words, his hands trembling against the table. Elara stepped closer, drawn despite herself. And yet what? His eyes lifted, molten and vulnerable. And yet you undo me. The silence that followed was heavier than any roar of battle. Her heart pounded. His confession was no victory, it was a wound, laid bare. I don't know if I can protect you, he admitted. I don't know if I can protect anyone, not even myself. But the bond, it grows stronger. Every day I feel it pulling me closer, even when I fight it. Elara's breath caught, torn between fear and longing. She wanted to step away to protect herself, but his pain anchored her. Before she could speak, the doors burst open. Darius stormed in, urgency etched on his scarred face. My king, the Shadow Pack retreats, but they leave trails of fire to the north. Villages burn, and there are whispers. His eyes flicked to Elara. Whispers that the Luna Queen leads them. Kaelen surged to his feet, rage boiling. Lies. But Elara's mark pulsed violently, as if reacting to the accusation. She doubled over, gasping, shadows spilling at her feet unbidden. The room fell silent. Kaelen caught her before she collapsed, his arms like iron around her. His voice was a growl edged with terror. They will use your power against you, Elara. Against us. And if they succeed, he swallowed hard. It will destroy everything. The bond deepens. The prophecy darkens. Continue in episode 11. Flames of Betrayal. The fortress air stank of smoke and blood. By dawn, word had spread like wildfire. Villages to the north were in ruins, black flames still devouring their homes. Survivors staggered through the gates hollow-eyed, whispering the same horror. The Luna Queen commanded the shadows. One woman swore, clutching her half-burned child. She raised her hand and the fire obeyed, another said, eyes darting to Elara. Elara stood among them, trembling. It wasn't me. I would never. But the words fell hollow. She had felt it last night, the shadows surging from her mark, beyond her control. In the council chamber, the elders struck like vultures. Her power brings ruin. She is a weapon too dangerous to keep. Break the bond before it damns us all. Kaelen slammed his hand on the table, golden eyes blazing. Enough, she is mine, and she is not the enemy. But doubt flickered even in his gaze. Elara saw it, the fear he tried to bury. Later, in the war room, Darius cornered her. His face was shadowed, voice low. Someone inside these walls feeds the Shadow Pack information. They knew where to strike, how to twist your power against you. Her heart lurched. A traitor? Here? He nodded grimly. The enemy doesn't need to kill you if they can make your own people turn against you. That night, Elara couldn't sleep. The fortress whispered of betrayal. The mark pulsed with restless energy, and visions bled into her mind, Kaelen's throne crumbling, wolves tearing each other apart, and always the same figure cloaked in black watching her. A scream shattered the silence. Elara ran to the courtyard, finding flames licking the walls. Wolves and soldiers scrambled with buckets of water, but the fire spread unnaturally fast, feeding on stone and air. And in the center of the chaos stood a cloaked figure inside the fortress, bold as day. Elara! Kaelen's roar thundered as he charged to shield her, but the figure raised a hand, and the flames surged higher, forming a wall between them. Through the blaze, the traitor's voice rang clear. The Luna Queen does not belong to the Alpha King. She belongs to us. The traitor is revealed in fire. Continue in episode 12. Shadows in the Pack. The firestorm raged, but the cloaked figure moved untouched, shadows coiling like serpents at his feet. Elara's mark seared, answering his call, and for a terrifying instant, her body leaned toward him, as though pulled by invisible strings. Kaelen snarled, forcing his way through the flames. His wolf eyes glowed molten, his voice savage. You dare set foot in my fortress? The figure laughed, low and cold. Your fortress. You cannot cage the shadows, Alpha King, and you cannot keep what was never yours. The hood fell back, revealing a familiar face. Elara's breath hitched. It was Lucian, once a trusted general in Kaelen's army, thought to have been slain in the Eastern Wars. His scarred face twisted into a smile that chilled her blood. "You were dead," Kaelen growled. "Dead men walk when the shadows call them," Lucian sneered. "And they have chosen their queen." His eyes locked on Elara, reverent, possessive. Before Kaelen could strike, Lucian's shadows lashed out, coiling around Elara's wrists. The mark flared in response, pain searing her veins. She cried out, her knees buckling. Kaelen lunged, claws bared, but the shadows yanked her back, dragging her toward Lucian. "Elara!" Kaelen roared, tearing through the darkness with brute force. His claws shredded tendrils of shadow, his rage nearly unhinged. Darius appeared from the smoke, blade flashing silver. He struck at Lucian, forcing him to retreat, but not before the traitor's words echoed in every ear. "The blood moon rises soon. When it does, she will choose. And no chain, no crown, no king will stop her." With a final surge, the shadows swallowed him whole, leaving behind only silence and ash. Kaelen caught Elara, his arms iron around her trembling frame. His voice shook, raw with fury and fear. "He was one of mine, one of my pack, and now he serves them." Elara's tears burned. "If he can betray you, who else might?" The question lingered like poison. Even here, even in Kaelen's fortress, shadows had found a way in. Trust itself was cracking. And in the silence that followed, Kaelen whispered words that chilled her. "If the bond makes you their weapon, I will break it with my own hands." Love and loyalty fracture as betrayal grows. Continue in episode 13. The Breaking Bond. The fortress was quiet. Too quiet. Rumors of Lucian's betrayal spread like a sickness, and with each whisper suspicion grew. Wolves who once bowed to Kaelen now averted their eyes, unsure if their king's mate was a blessing or a curse. Kaelen sat in the war room, his hands clenched around a goblet he hadn't touched. Elara stood before him, the weight of his gaze like fire on her skin. "Say it," she demanded, her voice raw. His jaw tightened. "If Lucian is right, if the shadows use our bond to control you, then you are the knife pointed at my throat. At my kingdom's throat." Elara's chest constricted. "And you think breaking the bond will save you?" Kaelen rose, towering, his wolf burning behind his eyes. "It may save everyone." Silence stretched, heavy and sharp. Elara's mark pulsed violently, as if rejecting the very idea. Pain lanced through her veins, and she stumbled, clutching her wrist. Kaelen moved instinctively to catch her, but stopped short, torn between instinct and fear. The council pressed him harder. "End it now. Prove your loyalty to your people." That night, he led her to the sacred cavern, deep beneath the fortress. Torches flickered against walls carved with ancient runes. At the center stood an obsidian altar, etched with claw marks older than memory. "This is where bonds are forged," Kaelen said, voice low, rough. "And where they can be broken." Her heart hammered. "And if you break it?" He couldn't look at her. Some bonds shatter clean, others tear apart the soul. He lifted a blade forged of moonstone, its edge gleaming with cold light. His hand shook as he raised it toward her mark. "Kaelen," she whispered, tears streaking her cheeks, "you'll kill me." His grip faltered, his chest heaving. The wolf inside him snarled, refusing to let go, but the man, broken by grief, by duty, pressed the blade closer. The mark blazed, silver fire spilling across their joined skin. Elara screamed as visions consumed her, Kaelen dying in battle, his crown drenched in blood, her own hands stained with shadow. The bond refused to break, clinging tighter, burning hotter. Kaelen roared, throwing the blade aside. He crushed her against him, his body shaking. "I can't," he gasped. "I can't lose you, not again." But even as he held her, the mark throbbed with warning. The bond was stronger than either of them, and it was only growing. The bond survives the blade, but at a terrible cost. Continue in episode 14. The Blood Oath. The days after the failed breaking weighed heavy on the fortress. Kaelen avoided Elara, consumed by war councils and battle preparations, but she felt him everywhere, the bond tugging, the heat of his wolf thrumming in her blood. Darius found her by the training grounds. His expression was grim, his voice urgent. Lucian spreads lies in every village he burns. He tells them the Luna Queen fights for the shadows, not against them. And the people, some believe him. Elara's stomach churned. Then what do we do? Give them hope, Darius said, eyes searching hers. Swear to them, not as Kaelen's mate, but as their Luna. A blood oath. She hesitated. Swearing an oath before the pack would bind her not just in word, but in power. If she failed them, the bond itself might punish her. That night, the courtyard filled with wolves and warriors, torches blazing in the darkness. Kaelen stood at her side, silent, his jaw clenched. Darius stepped forward, raising his blade. Elara of the Mark, do you swear upon your blood and soul to stand against the shadows? To fight for this pack, for this kingdom, until death takes you? The crowd hushed, every breath holding. Elara drew the blade across her palm. Silver blood dripped into the fire, flaring with light. Her voice rang clear. I swear, by my mark, by my blood, by the bond that binds me, I swear. The fire roared higher, silver sparks raining over the crowd. Wolves dropped to their knees, bowing. The air thrummed with power, the bond between her and the pack sealed. Kaelen's eyes burned as he watched, torn between pride and terror. For every vow she made to the people, she was bound tighter to them and farther from him. When the flames died, the people howled her name, Luna, Queen, Savior. But in the shadows beyond the torches, Lucian watched. His smile was cold, his voice a whisper carried on the night wind. Swear what you like. When the blood moon rises, you will be mine. The people claim her, the shadows hunt her. Continue in episode 15. The Hunter's Game. The forest was unnervingly silent. No owls, no wolves, not even the whisper of wind through the pines. Elara's mark pulsed with unease as Kaelen guided her deeper into the woods, Darius and a small band of warriors trailing behind. This is a trap, Kaelen muttered, his wolf senses on edge. Then why walk into it? Elara whispered. Because Lucian wants us here, Kaelen growled, and I want to see why. They entered a clearing bathed in moonlight. At its center stood a circle of stones, each one carved with runes that pulsed with black fire. And waiting there, cloak billowing like smoke, was Lucian. Welcome, Alpha King, he called. Welcome, Luna Queen. You've entered the Hunter's Game. At his signal, shadows burst from the tree line, forming into monstrous wolves with eyes like blood and fangs like obsidian. The warriors drew blades, Darius already shouting orders, but Lucian raised a hand. Not them. This game is only for you. His eyes gleamed as they locked on Elara. If you survive until moonset, I'll withdraw. If you fall, the shadows claim you forever. Kaelen shifted in an instant, his wolf massive and black, lips peeled back in a snarl. Elara staggered, caught between fear and the surge of power inside her. The mark seared, whispering, "Fight." The shadow wolves lunged. Kaelen met them head-on, his strength devastating, but for every beast he tore apart, two more took its place. Their forms dissolved and reformed, endless, unkillable. "Elara!" Darius shouted, shoving a silver blade into her hands. "They're drawn to you. Use the mark. Control them." She lifted the blade, but the wolves swarmed too fast. One slammed into her, sending her sprawling across the stones. Pain seared her side, and the mark blazed so brightly it scorched the air. Silver fire burst from her body, incinerating the wolf in a single scream. The others recoiled, snarling. Kaelen howled, breaking through their ranks to reach her, his golden eyes wild. Lucian laughed from the shadows, his voice echoing. "Good, very good. Every time you use that power, you step closer to me." The fire around Elara grew uncontrollable, licking at the stones, cracking their surface. The mark writhed, threatening to consume her entirely. Kaelen shifted back, seizing her shoulders, shaking her. "Elara, listen to me. You are stronger than him. You are mine." The fire exploded outward. Darkness and light clashed, the world blurring in chaos. When the smoke cleared, the clearing was empty. No Lucian, no warriors. Only Elara and Kaelen, alone transported by the mark into a place of endless shadows. The hunter's game has only begun. Continue in episode 16, Realm of Shadows. Elara staggered to her feet, her breath fogging in the strange air. The world around her was not the forest, it was a wasteland of ash and broken stone, lit only by a blood-red moon that hung too close, too bright. "Where are we?" she whispered. Kaelen stood beside her, his blade drawn, his wolf thrumming beneath his skin. Lucian's realm, a shadow between worlds. The ground trembled beneath their feet. From the mist rose twisted ruins, shattered towers, crumbling walls, remnants of a kingdom long dead. The air was heavy with whispers, voices calling Elara's name in 1,000 tones. "Do you hear that?" she asked, clutching her head. Kaelen caught her arm, steadying her. "Don't listen. It's how they lure you deeper." But the mark throbbed violently, pulling her forward. She resisted, but each step she took burned like fire through her veins. The shadows seemed to part for her, bowing low as if recognizing their queen. From the mist emerged Lucian, his cloak flowing like liquid night. "Welcome home, Elara," Kaelen snarled, stepping in front of her. "This is not her home." Lucian tilted his head, his scarred smile cruel. "You can't fight fate, Kaelen. She belongs here, to me, to the shadows. Even now her bond with you weakens while mine grows stronger." Elara's chest tightened as the mark pulsed in agreement. Silver fire laced with streaks of black writhed across her arm. She tried to push it down, but the darkness clung to her like chains. Lucian extended his hand. "Feel it, Elara. The truth. With me you will not be feared. You will be worshipped." Her knees buckled, torn between Kaelen's grip and Lucian's call. Pain racked her body as if the bond itself were being pulled in two directions. Kaelen roared, clutching her tighter. "Fight him!" The ground split beneath them, shadows surging upward like waves. Lucian's laughter echoed as the world shook. "When the blood moon rises in this realm, you will choose, and you will not choose him." The red moon flared brighter, and Elara screamed as the mark erupted, spilling silver and black fire into the endless night. Elara is torn between bonds of light and shadow. Continue in episode 17, The Choice of Fire. The red moon swelled above the broken sky, its light bathing the shadow realm in crimson. Elara writhed on the cracked ground, her mark blazing with silver fire laced in black veins. Every heartbeat tore her in two. One side pulled toward Kaelen, the other toward Lucian. Kaelen's hands gripped her shoulders, his voice rough with desperation. "Stay with me, Elara. Fight it." Lucian stood a few paces away, calm, confident, his eyes glinting with cruel promise. "Why fight what you were born to be? The shadows recognize you. They kneel for you. Kaelen only fears you." Her chest heaved. Memories flashed, Kaelen's arms holding her through battle, his confession of fear, his attempt to sever their bond. And Lucian's whisper from the flames, "She belongs to us." "Stop," she screamed, clutching her head as vision struck two futures playing at once. In one, she stood beside Kaelen on a throne of silver and gold, wolves howling their loyalty. In the other, she walked with Lucian through endless night, a queen crowned in shadows, her power limitless, but her heart empty. The ground cracked beneath her as the two destinies warred. "Elara," Kaelen's voice broke, raw with anguish. "You're not alone. You never will be, not while I breathe." Lucian extended his hand, his voice low and honeyed. "With me, you'll never be caged. You'll never be weak. Choose freedom. Choose power." Her hand trembled between them. Pain seared her veins, the mark splitting light and darkness across her skin. And then she screamed, plunging her palm into the ground. Silver fire erupted in a circle around her, blasting both Kaelen and Lucian back. The realm shook, towers collapsing, shadows shrieking. "I am not your pawn," she cried, her voice resonant with power. "Not the king's weapon, not the shadow's queen. I am Elara." The realm split with her declaration, a fissure of silver light cutting through the dark. Kaelen stumbled toward her, hope in his eyes. Lucian only laughed, retreating into the mist. "This is only the beginning," he whispered as he vanished. "When the blood moon rises in your world, you will choose again." The fissure widened, pulling Elara and Kaelen back toward the waking world. Elara declares herself, but the blood moon still waits. Continue in episode 18, Return of the Marked. Elara gasped as her body slammed onto cold stone. She blinked against torchlight. She and Kaelen were back in the fortress cavern, the obsidian altar glowing faintly beneath them. Kaelen gathered her into his arms, his chest heaving. "You did it. You broke his hold." But Elara shook her head, her mark still burning with dark veins that hadn't been there before. "No, he's still inside me. I can feel him." Kaelen's jaw tightened, fury in his eyes. "Then I'll rip him out with my bare hands." "Kaelen," she whispered, gripping his tunic. "What if it's not him? What if it's me?" His expression cracked, pain flickering across his face. But before he could answer, the cavern doors burst open. Darius rushed in, armor bloodied. The Shadow Pack strikes again, this time at the western villages, and they bear her mark. Elara froze. "My mark?" He nodded grimly. "Carved into the earth, burned into the walls. They want the people to see you as their leader." Kaelen growled, fists clenched. "Lucian twist her power to turn the pack against her. We'll crush them before the lies spread further." But Darius's gaze lingered on Elara, filled with doubt. "And if it's not lies?" Her breath caught. For the first time, she saw suspicion in his eyes, too. The one man who had always defended her now looked at her as though she might already belong to the shadows. That night, alone in her chambers, Elara stared at the mark on her arm. It pulsed silver and black, a storm of fire and shadow trapped in her veins. She pressed her palm to it, whispering to herself, "Whose am I? Theirs? His? Or my own?" From the window, she saw Kaelen on the training grounds, his wolf tearing through dummies in a frenzy of rage, blood spattering his skin. His loyalty burned fierce, but his fear grew fiercer. And in the glass, faint and fleeting, she saw Lucian's reflection smiling back at her. Doubt infects the bond, and trust begins to crack. Continue in episode 19, Wolves in the Fold. The fortress hall smelled of smoke and iron. Elara sat at the long table, Kaelen at her side, his expression stone-hard as reports of Shadow Pack raids spread among the commanders. Murmurs grew louder, eyes drifting toward her mark like moths to flame. "She leads them," one grizzled warrior spat. "They carve her sign into the land. If she's not their queen already, she soon will be." Kaelen slammed his hand against the table, splintering wood. "Watch your tongue. Elara stands with me. With us." But the room buzzed with unease, and Elara felt it seep into her bones. She clenched her fists under the table, the mark burning in answer. Later that night, as moonlight bled through narrow windows, Darius found her in the corridor. His gaze was heavy, torn. "Elara, if it comes to choosing between the pack and you, Kaelen will choose the pack. Don't blind yourself to it." Her throat tightened. "And you? What would you choose?" He didn't answer. The following dawn, the fortress trembled. Shadows slipped through its walls, wolves cloaked in black fire, their eyes glowing crimson. The Shadow Pack had infiltrated, not with brute force, but betrayal. Chaos erupted, steel clashed, howls echoed. Kaelen shifted, his wolf tearing through intruders with feral rage. "Elara," he shouted over the din, "stay behind me." But Lucian's voice curled through her mind, dark and alluring. Why hide behind him when they would bow before you? A wolf lunged at her. Instinct took over. Silver fire burst from her hands, searing the creature into ash. The fighting froze, friend and foe alike staring at her in awe and fear. The silence broke into a chant from the invading wolves. Queen, queen, queen. Kaelen's golden eyes locked on hers, wide with shock. For a heartbeat, Elara saw doubt there, doubt sharper than any blade. Her heart shattered. The fortress falls to betrayal, and even Kaelen begins to doubt. Continue in episode 20. The blood moon rises. The sky burned crimson as the blood moon reached its zenith. The battlefield stretched below the fortress walls. Wolves clashing, fire raging, shadows twisting the night. At the center stood Elara, her mark blazing with uncontrollable power. Kaelen at her side, his wolf form bloodied but unbroken. Lucian emerged from the smoke, tall and terrible, shadows writhing like serpents around him. His voice rolled like thunder. The time has come. Choose, Elara. Be queen of the shadows or burn beside him. Kaelen growled, lips curled back in defiance. She chooses no one but herself. Elara's body shook, torn in two. The mark split across her arm, silver fire colliding with black shadow. Her veins glowed, her skin cracking with light. She felt as if she might burst apart. Kaelen caught her hand, his grip fierce. I don't care what you are. I don't care if the shadows live in you. I love you, and I will stand here until the last breath in my body, with you or for you. Her vision blurred. The fortress roared with fire and death. And then, through the chaos, she remembered her own words. I am not your pawn. She let go. Power surged through her veins, neither Kaelen's nor Lucian's but hers. A blinding eruption of silver and black fire shot into the sky, swallowing the blood moon, shattering its crimson curse. The battlefield fell silent. Shadows dissolved into ash. Wolves, friend and foe, knelt, stunned, their howls rising in awe and fear. Lucian staggered back, his form flickering. You are mine. No, she said, her voice shaking the ground itself. I am Elara. With a final scream, she cast him into the void, his shadow burning away into nothing. When the light dimmed, she collapsed into Kaelen's arms, her body weak, her mark glowing faint, but steady. The war was over. But the bond between them, scarred, tested, reforged, was far from simple. Kaelen pressed his forehead to hers, tears mingling with blood. Whatever comes, we face it together. She closed her eyes, whispering, together. Above them, the shattered moonlight faded into dawn. Season 1 ends, but shadows never die. Would you follow Elara and Kaelen into Season 2?